I'd like to call this meeting of Tuesday, December 17th, 2024 to order, acting under the provisions of the Code of the Town of Barnstable, Chapters 112-1 through 112-7. The Historical Commission will hold a public hearing on the following applications. The following applications have been determined significant and were referred to a public hearing. This meeting of the Barnstable Historical Commission is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. In accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, the chair must inquire whether anyone else is recording this meeting, and if so, to please make their presence known. Anyone? Seeing no one, I'll keep going. Great, thank you. We ask that during the afternoon's proceedings, cell phones be turned off and conversations other than those before the commission take place outside this remote meeting. When the application is called, we ask the applicant and all interested parties and abutters to identify themselves. Lastly, as a best practice for meetings held remotely where we may not be able to visually identify who is speaking, we ask all commission members and participants to try to remember to identify themselves. I added the try to remember because I sometimes forget, but we'll see if we can do that. Online audience members wishing to participate during the public comment section of a hearing can use the raise hand button to notify the chair. Dial-in audience members wishing to participate during the public comment section of a hearing should press star 9 on their phone to notify the chair. All participants will be muted. You must be recognized by the chair to participate. First order of business is to take a roll call of attendance. Nancy Shoemaker.
Nancy Shoemaker here.
Cheryl Powell.
Here, and I'm switching over to another screen just so I am here, but just I might be more stable.
Okay, thank you. Jack Kay.
Here.
Great. Barbara DiBiase.
Here.
Hi, Barbara. John Richmond.
Here.
And visual, too. Good for you. And Robert Frazee, I'm here also. Thank you very much. So, our first order of business today is a continued application. Matt Davila and Kimberly Flynn of 139 Old Stage Road, Centerville, map 189, parcel 086/001, built 1900, full demolition, demolish existing main and guest dwellings. We have had a site visit, and thank you to the applicants for making that possible, and to staff, and all of you commissioners who made it out to the property since the last hearing date. We are still in a public hearing as a result of it having been continued. I would like to first ask, I believe, the commissioners if they would be willing to individually comment on any reactions they had, or not conclusions necessarily, but get their sentiments about what they learned on the site visit, if we could, please. I don't know who wants to go first, but Jack, you were one of the first to see it. Right. Yeah, I think you were also the first to have a look, so please jump in.
I had the privilege of meeting with them at their property, and Erica made that same visit with me. And I got an extensive tour through the property and the houses and the additions, and found that the house has gone through so many additions and alterations that it really doesn't resemble what that period states as far as the trim and what they've done to the house. Probably the most glaring item of that was that the presentation of the elevation facing the road. The house has been completely re-shingled with asbestos shingles, and that's probably out of the 50s or 60s that they used those things, and they're still on the house. When they redid that work, I would assume that's when they took the trim off the rakes, and the earboards and the trim on the rakes is not a period correct application. When I went around to the back side of the house, I noticed a hump on the roof line, and then realized that they had converted this 4-square house. The back is a salt box. The front is a 4-square. So by doing that, the owners of that property allowed me to go up through the scuttle into the attic space where I saw that they removed the rear part of the roof and did a whole new rafter system with modern rafters. And as you look at the rear elevation, it is a salt box, and it covers some of the additions that they did. So the front and rear elevations are dramatically different. And I also toured down through the basement and looked at it's an original rock basement that's been reinforced with some interior concrete work, and some of it has been hammered out of the way to get across under some of the additions. Uh, there's just a number of things that aren't correct. They also have tried to reinforce the floors, and what they did was they over notched the beams with the joists. So, for those of you that are comfortable with the building code, you're only allowed to cut a joist 1/8 of its depth. And they literally took a 6-inch joist and cut 3 inches off of it. So it's actually structurally only a 2x4 now. So there's that's happened in the building, and I can't imagine that was ever reviewed by a building inspector. And so Eric and I actually walked the entire place, and I got into the corners and the floors and the whole business. And uh, the building is very badly compromised.
Okay, thank you, Jack. I appreciate that. Who'd like to go next? Anybody? Comments?
I will. Nancy
Go for it,
Shoemaker.
Nancy. Sure.
Just thank you, Jack, for going first, because you're bringing me through everything that we saw and totally agree with what you said. We never went up to the attic, but yeah, particularly I noticed that the front of the house was, that they even took the trim off and put this thin-looking plastic-like trim there. Somebody did, not these owners, I'm sure. Yeah, I totally agree with everything, and I'm so glad you were so thorough about looking where you needed to look. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with both those comments. I agree with what Jack was saying too. I think Corey and Erica and Barbara and I went through on a rather rainy, wet day, and the applicants were similarly very welcoming and helpful and let us kind of poke around wherever we could and would. And we saw the cellar. We saw this. I went up the same scuttle. I believe Corey did it well. We saw the compromised or altered, I should say, roof decks and roof framing, and we're increasingly aware that not as much of the original building was there as we thought or hoped when we, first saw the presentation originally. John, you were out there too? Did you
Yes, I was, as a matter of fact.
any impressions?
A couple of impressions, I guess. One, the foundation and under the kitchen looked particularly bad.
Yeah.
There are pictures of the original house showed that what's left, to me, is a shadow of the original house. I feel like most of the destruction, for lack of a better word, occurred before the current owners were even born. And looking at the house, I feel even if they spent all the money to cradle it, move it, put the foundation, a new foundation, put it back on the foundation, that what would be left would still not be very much. It would be a shadow of its former self.
Thank you. Barbara, what did you think? I didn't mean to leave you last, but I just,
No,
and
no,
Cheryl,
that's
I'm sorry, but and you too.
Actually, I concur with John's sentiment. When we saw the photographs, I didn't feel like we were looking at the same house.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very clear and very evident, and clearly most of the work was done. much prior to the current owners moving in and, and living there, so I agree.
Okay. And Cheryl? Sorry, I didn't mean to overlook you.
No, you didn't over, it's fine. To be honest, did not get a chance to get out. I did an online search. But from what I was able to see, I completely agree with what has been said.
Thank you. Yeah, this was a case of wanting to believe that it was a preferably preserved historic building for the sake of the neighborhood, the location, the fact that it had been listed as contributing from what essentially is only a windshield survey for the inventory form. We all know the limitations of those. They help a lot, but they don't document the detail of the building. Being able to go inside and get under it and stuff was, to me personally, very meaningful, and it's a thing I always hope we can do if there's a question like this coming up. So I apologize. I'm looking through the names of people here. Are the applicants online here with us?
And
Yes, we're here.
Okay,
Yes, we're
sorry,
here.
because thank you. I figured you would be, or somebody would have
Yeah.
said something sooner, but it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I can't get the camera to work. Otherwise,
That's
on
okay.
camera.
Kim, thank you very much. I just wanted to be sure. Are there any other members of the public here with us today who wish to comment further on their sentiments about the building?
Chair, this is Erica Brown. First, I'd like to acknowledge that the Holt sent in a letter of opposition to the demolition. I want to make sure that all members saw that.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for sending your communication. I appreciate that. Would you like to speak further, or are you happy with your letter standing as it is? You're welcome to step in if you want. I'm not trying to make you do that by any means,
Yeah.
but if you'd like to, that's perfectly okay.
Thank you for the opportunity, but no, our letter stands, and just to be clear, the opposition was mostly out of respect for the history of the area, with knowing that priority has to be on health and safety.
Well, thank you. No, I appreciate that. Ironically, one of the things that we are not entitled to do as a historical commission is to rule on the basis of health and safety. If there's enough of a health or safety issue, it falls to the Board of Health or building inspector, and a relationship between the owner and those parties. But it is of concern, and it's of general interest to all of us, and we would never overlook that. I do see someone with a hand up. And hi.
Hi, how are you? Yeah, I had heard that the visit sort of went this way. I think the applicants talked about it. And I at 142 Old Stage Road, so
Thank
that
you.
house is my direct view. My name is Carol Chandler Rourke, and I wrote the letter for the first meeting. I'm pretty upset about the situation because I really believe in preserving historical properties, and a lot of the properties, mine included, before I moved in, had changes made, and that's just I think that's before we paid a lot of attention to preserving properties, and now we do pay more attention to that. As you come down Old Stage Road, it's sort of the entrance into the old village, when you cross over from the cemetery, and it's out on the curve, so it's sort of the first house you see, even though there are older houses before it. And so, I'm very concerned. The garage that went up very quickly. It's quite large, and I don't think it's historically appropriate, especially it's got sort of a 1970s, I don't know, window facing the street. And there's some electronics and pumps that were added and stuff in the front. So I am just hoping that what does go up,
Whoops.
know much about modular.
I think we've just lost your feed. Whoop, you're in and out.
Okay, sorry. I could move to a better area. I don't know much about modular homes, but I'm just hoping that whatever goes up, can you hear me now? I'm going into
Yes,
another
thank
room.
you. Yeah.
Whatever does go up, modular scares me. That sounds very modern. And I just really am hoping that all attention can be to make it fit with older structures. And, you know, I think the renovations that have been done on each side are beautiful. And they really blend and fit well. So I'm just hoping that attention is paid to that, because I didn't really think that happened with the garage, and it went up quite quickly. And I really didn't understand also, there are a couple outbuildings already in existence, and then suddenly a great big garage goes up as well. And I guess there's still going to be a guest house. So I don't know if there's going to be two accessory dwelling units or. So I know that's not your purview, but I think in something like this with a full demolition that changes the nature of this particular area, and it is my direct view from my house, that I'm just hoping the new owners pay attention to that.
Great. Thank you very much for your comments. I appreciate that. Anyone else wishing to speak here at the moment? Matt and Kim, do you have any?
Room? I don't see anyone wishing to speak to this item at this time.
Great. Thank you, Erica. Matt and Kim, do you have any thoughts in response to what you've heard so far? I have a couple of comments still, but I want to keep you in the loop actively as best we can here.
No, I don't think we have any specific response. The only thing I want to do is just thank the Historic Commission for taking the situation seriously, coming out and taking a look at the property and the structure. And I think seeing it for your own eyes was very important for everybody that came out. So I appreciate the time and the effort put in by the commission.
Well, thank you very much for saying that. We appreciate your hospitality and welcoming us out there to do that. It was, as I said earlier, much more help than a lot of people understand. You understood it, and so do we now. After the visit, I spent a few minutes speaking with Corey and Erica, and therefore it was not with other commissioners. We were not out of meeting. But I wanted to say that one of my reactions was, and it speaks to the last person who commented with public comment. My concern overriding is for the neighborhood and the pattern of architecture that there is established in that part of Centerville, which is adjacent to a National Register district and would have been capable of being included in a National Register district should one expand, and this therefore was considered a contributing building. I'm concerned what happens next if this building is demolished, in terms of being as faithful as is possible to be to the kinds of architectural principles that are evident in the neighborhood now. And I guess I keep my mind focusing on that gable end building that is the Greek Revival structure, however altered and however its trim has been mangled with the removal of trim boards and the application of asbestos trim, which, by the way, for everybody not aware of it, is really just a predecessor of aluminum siding or vinyl siding. It was often applied the same way. You take off the original trim and you apply the asbestos tiles to the side of the building. And so a lot of the appearance of the building or characteristic or character of the building is lost in the process. I still do, though, hope that it is possible to retain some of the Greek Revival look and some of the architectural heritage that is embodied in the existing structure if we agree to permit the demolition of this one. And I don't know, Matt and Kim, if you can speak to that a little bit. I know that people are generally apprehensive about modular homes, and I'm going to say the two things that come to mind for me is not so much that they're modern, because modern in itself is not inherently a problem, but typically in order to produce a modular home, you have a lot of repeated themes and you have a lot of uninterrupted massing. And Jack or anyone else who may, as a commissioner, want to chime in on this, see if you agree or disagree with me, but I'm apprehensive that a modular replacement may be those two things and be exactly what some of the neighbors who are concerned about. And I don't know if there's a way to fix that or not. As a historical commission, we only have one tool in our toolbox. And I'm just going to presume to have picked up on the sentiment of most of the commissioners, but please shout me down if you think I'm wrong. I think we're not inclined to want to impose a demolition delay in this case, having seen the structure. But it's the only thing we have. So, other than a conversation here, and I'm hoping that in the course of listening to this and the visits that we had, that you understand the essence of our concerns. Do you feel that there are any alternatives to, the conventional modular look for your future replacement that you can help us with in understanding what will come next?
Well, I think modular is a pretty generic term, and
Yes.
I understand people's apprehension to the modular build. I too myself was a little bit apprehensive in going with the modular build, but as we looked and investigated modular companies, there's a tremendous amount of options that can be done with modular buildings these days. I think oftentimes when people think of modular, they think of 1970s, 1980s, and trailers and what have you. But
Yeah.
it's a far superior build, both environmentally and economically, than a traditional stick build. So the reason that we have gone, or we're contemplating, if you will, the modular build is to reduce the negative impact on our neighbors, number one. Number two, considering the amount of mold that we've experienced in this house, we are fans of building a home in a factory that is that is conditioned, so we don't have any issues arise during a traditional stick build. What I have done since our previous meeting last month is I went back to the builder and I've asked him to come back to me with more, or come back to us, excuse me, with more options that we would see in some Greek revival, some Greek revival buildings, some of those characteristics. So he is currently working on that. As far as the neighborhood and as far as modular builds, I certainly appreciate and understand neighbors' apprehension. I'll use that word again, apprehension to a modular build. What I can tell you is that we have taken this process quite seriously. We're putting multiple years into this thought process. As I shared with everybody that completed the site walk, we don't have a lot of options. Lifting this house and recreating what was here is not really a viable option. So in a rebuild, we will certainly make sure that the house fits the neighborhood. Now, I know people are concerned about the neighbors and what gets done. If you look at the house 3 or 4 doors down, it's a flat roof contemporary building. Okay? That is not what we're building. Okay? So if people are that concerned about the historic and what gets replaced, that building never should have been allowed. It's a flat roof, large window building that's only 4 doors down, which is actually closer to the historic area that we're talking about. So when we talk about a modular build, I've put a lot of time and effort into the research of this. The modular build, yes, it is going to be modular, but it's going to have features that fit in with this neighborhood. And I think everybody will be happy in the end.
Thank you, Ed. That's helpful. Commissioners, any further responses part of this conversation? Any of you have any thoughts?
I do. I have a few.
Thank you, John.
Modular builds are pretty popular across the country, and I've seen them up to 4 stories tall. So they can certainly stack modular builds, and if everybody's afraid that this is likely to be a single-story trailer, they do towers on them. They do some pretty interesting silo looks where there's a spiral staircase and some stuff like that. So having been around this business for all my life, I'm not shocked by the word modular, but
Great.
it is a process where they construct this building within a building and bring it out in pieces and reassemble it. It's no longer a 12-foot wide steel frame that's 58 feet long and you has a mod line and you bolt it together and I don't see them doing that any longer. So I'm not as cautious about that. But I don't understand, district, does this district require that a new construction be looked at by the Historic Commission?
No,
No.
not in my opinion, no. No. We don't
Okay.
normally have the opportunity to discuss what happens next, except I think we should, to the degree that we can, discuss it more as a moment of informative exchange and education for the applicant and on behalf of the community around the neighborhood. In the event we are going to permit a demolition, we hope that the cost isn't to the architectural integrity of the whole neighborhood in the process of doing so. And I think what Matt just spoke to, I'm not going to comment on any particular buildings. That wouldn't be appropriate for us as a commissioner, me as a commissioner, but we all drove through the neighborhood. We can drive through any neighborhood and we can see houses that are exceptions. Some are exceptionally historic and original and amazing, and some are exceptionally apparently insensitive to the historic nature of the architecture of an area. And it may be that one of the houses that Matt has mentioned would be one of those. I'm pleased to hear that he's cited that and as an exception to the preferred approach to a property such as the one we're discussing here. And I'm hopeful that the conversation we're having is going to help us go in a direction where we would like to go. But normally, you would have to be in a historic district to have the historic district committee or commission be able to converse in a way that's compulsory about the details and architectural elements of alterations or a new building. That's not what I'm intending to do. We can't require it. We can just use the moment here to do the best job we can do, which I don't want to go on forever. I think that's I hope that's what we've accomplished.
Yeah.
And so with that in mind, if we're to a point where we would be willing to bring this to a vote, I'm certainly open to that. I would like to ask for a vote to close the public hearing.
Chair, this is Erica Brown. Before you do that, it looks like
Yes, ma'am.
Carol would like to say something else.
Oh, I beg your pardon. I didn't see the hand up. Thank you so
I'm
much.
so sorry.
No,
But-
that's perfectly okay.
Yeah, because I have watched a few of your hearings and I've noticed that, sometimes you talk about the windows even, and,
Yep.
it's 12 over 12 or 6 over 6 or whatever. So I've been watching this. But I guess, am I allowed to ask about the size? Is this going to, I think it's 1,200 square feet now. Is it going to increase the size of the structure? Is that the plan?
Well, you're allowed to ask that, certainly. We don't have any jurisdiction over size.
Right.
That's not something we can do here. If this were a partial demolition of a historic building, we would be able to discuss the nature of the alterations to the historic structure.
I
But
see.
that's not what this is about. This is taking the major step of a demolition.
And I assume the asbestos is off the conversation as well, because I just want to make sure that even with a demolition, you'd still have the same kind of precautions in removing asbestos, right? Because asbestos is not usually a problem unless it's messed with.
That's not my expertise, but if you were to ask the building commissioner that question, I believe you would find that there would be some requirements for how that would be handled on site during a demolition.
Okay,
So-
thank
Chair, this is Erica Brown. Carol, you're more than welcome to reach out to the building department
Yeah.
regarding that. When a building permit comes in for demo, a build, or anything like that, there's steps that people have to sign off on, including health, any historic district, any conservation or anything like that. So it would all have to conform to all of those.
Thank
Just
you.
so that you're aware. But yeah, you can check with building about precautions and everything that need to be taken for the removal of asbestos.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I would love to have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Cheryl moved, and a second.
I'll second it.
Jack K, second. Thank you very much. All in favor of closing the public hearing? Oh, I have to do a roll call. I beg your pardon. I forget. We're zooming. Excuse me. Nancy Shoemaker.
Aye.
Jack K.
Aye.
Barbara DiBiase.
Aye.
John Richmond.
Aye.
Robert Frazee. Aye. Great. Thank you.
And also Cheryl Powell.
Cheryl. Oh my God. You disappeared on me again. I apologize. I'm glad you're here, by the way. I don't want you to misunderstand.
Yeah, sorry I had to step out. I was listening in the background, but I also had to protect the call and confidentiality.
Gotcha. All right. So I would appreciate it if someone would be willing to read the motions for this. Anybody have a copy and feel like jumping in?
I can, if you would like, Nancy Shoemaker.
Nancy, that would be awesome. Thank you.
This is for Matthew Diavola, is that correct? And Kimberly Flynn's house on 139 Old Stage Road, Centerville, map 189, parcel 086/001, built 1900. For full demolition existing main house and guest dwellings. Motion 1. I move that after review and consideration of public testimony, the application, and associated materials, the significant buildings located at 139 Old Stage Road, Centerville, are preferably preserved significant buildings.
I'll second that.
Will impose an 18-month delay. A nay vote will not impose an 18-month delay. Nancy Shoemaker.
Nay.
Cheryl Powell.
Nay.
Jack K.
Nay.
Barbara DiBiase.
Nay.
John Richmond.
Nay.
Bob Frazee. Nay. So
All right. I move that in accordance with Section 112-3F, the Barnstable Historical Commission determines that the full demolition of the buildings located at 139 Old Stage Road, Centerville, is not detrimental to the historical, cultural, and architectural heritage or resources of the town.
and a
Second.
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 Thank you very much. An aye vote determines that the full demolition of the single-family structure and guest house is not detrimental. No demolition delay will be imposed. So, roll call vote. Nancy Shoemaker.
Aye.
Cheryl Powell.
Aye.
Jack K.
Aye.
Barbara DiBiase.
Sadly, aye.
Right. John Richmond.
Aye.
Robert Frazee. Aye. So the demolition is permitted.
Can I say something, though?
Yes.
Okay. Just to the owners, if there's some kind of hint of that style of house, whether it's a complete pediment or, it doesn't have to be something grandly and obviously Greek revival, but it would be nice if you keep that in mind. Just a suggestion.
Okay, thank you.
Matt and Kim, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Application, John and Joanne Harrington, 1011 Main Street, Katuitt, map 034, parcel 026, built 1920. Construct a front porch and stairs, add a front door, and move 2 windows to create a balanced view. And I would appreciate a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank
Jack.
you, Jack. Nancy Shoemaker. Cheryl Powell.
Aye.
Jack K.
Aye.
Barbara DiBiase.
Aye.
John Richmond.
Aye.
Robert Frazee. Aye. We are in public hearing. Mr. Harrington, greetings. You're on mute, sir. You're welcome to unmute yourself and talk to us. Still, there you
Can you
go.
hear me now?
Yes, sir. Thank
All
you.
right. I'm showing my age.
No, not at all. Not even close.
John Harrington. I bought the house in, I think, December of 2015. The structure is the same as it was when I bought it. What little I know about the history of the house, I've gleaned from various websites, the Maker's website, the pictures that previous owners have given me, and I guess there was a certain amount of folklore that was handed down owner to owner to owner that finally was handed down to me. I can tell you that most of that information conflicts with parts of other, including the date that it was originally built. The original house is that part where you can see the A-frame in the middle.
Yeah.
Whether that was built in the 1840s, circa 1840, which is listed on, I think, the Maker's website, or that you can see on the addition on the left. I can't tell you. I found the grave of the people here, and the woman whose name is on that was born in 1840. So I suspect that supposedly this house was built for her when she originally got married. So my guess is 1840 is not the right date, unless her father really wanted to get rid of her early. The addition to on the left and the right being a dining room, two-story addition, and the current one on the left, which is two-story addition, is supposedly built sometime in the 1920s. Though I'm not sure of either on that date. And there's pictures on the Katuah Historical Society of an addition on the left, which is one story and a smaller footprint. And if you go downstairs and look at the floor joists, you can see that the original structure is 5 feet less wide than the current one, and about 10 feet less deep, and that it doesn't match up with the front of the house. It's 10 feet in. My guess is there was originally a porch there, and that the original front door, which no longer exists, went onto that porch, but that's speculation. The structure on the back, which is 2 stories, there was a 1-story structure there, maybe from the beginning, but early on, that housed a kitchen. That structure, 2 stories, was put in either in 1977 or 1980. I've seen 2 dates on it. I don't know which is which. So that's about all I know about the house. And not one of those dates is firm, but I think they're all close. My intent is to add a front door. One that I assume that, and my assumption is there always a front door there, and to do it in a manner that I don't lose the functionality of that room that the door is going to be in, which is the middle room, which is a living room. And to do it in some way that certainly I think enhances the curb appeal and fits in with the style in the neighborhood. And there's a lot of porches in this neighborhood. The style of the houses are all different, but they're all traditional. And so that's our intent, and that's what we put together, and that's what we're presenting. Be happy to answer any questions.
That's great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Do we have any members of the public here who wish to speak to this?
This is Erica Brown. I don't see anyone from the public wishing to speak to this at this time.
Thank you, Erica. I know that there was one letter in support which was submitted. I want to acknowledge that, which is very helpful. Any comments from commissioners?
I guess I would like to have a list exactly of what's being demolished. I mean, I know it's 2 windows, but if they could be pointed out.
Is on the left-hand side of the room, and it kind of lines up with the hallway that goes into the back where the kitchen is. The 2 windows that it is offset on the center line, left and right. And so to put the door on one side, the room's only 20 feet inside. I'm taking the left-hand window that you're looking at there and putting it center line on the room, which is center line between the two windows above it. And then the door on one side and the window on the other would be equidistant from that middle window. So it would be a balanced look, and allows me to still, I didn't want to turn that living room into a entry hall. I want to still use it as a living room. And by putting the door on the side, it maintains most of its functionality.
Thank you. In my impression, the fact that Bob Frazee here, the fact that you're focusing the eye on steps up to a main entry is, I think, an offsetting feature for the shift in balance that you obtain from the two windows moving, or a window moving over. I don't personally have a problem with that. But I think it's an interesting question, Nancy. Anybody else? Or thoughts? Okay. My impression of this personally when I first saw it was that I actually really like it. So I want to.
So does my wife.
Well, good. That may be the most important. That may be the most important jury of all, not us. But in any case, because it's a contributing structure, it's in a historic district, and it's on a main public way, I felt that it was very important to bring it before the full commission for them to have a chance to see it and understand what you are proposing. If there's no one from the public wanting to speak, and if the commissioners are reasonably happy to proceed, we can close the public hearing and move to a vote. Are we okay with that?
Would you like that motion?
That would be very helpful, Cheryl. Thank you very much.
So move to public.
And a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Okay, in favor of that, Nancy Shoemaker? To close the public hearing.
I'm closing the hearing. I'm sorry. I'm looking down.
That's okay.
Yep. Aye.
Thank you. And Cheryl Powell?
Aye.
Jack Kay?
Aye.
Barbara DiBiase?
Aye.
John Richmond?
Aye.
Robert Frazee? Aye. Great. Thank you. The public hearing is closed. And if someone would be willing to please read the motions for this, that would be awesome.
I'm happy to do that if you wish.
Thank you, Cheryl. Appreciate
With
it.
regard to Harrington, John and Joanne, 1011 Main Street, Cotuit, map 034, parcel 026, built 1920, which with regard to construct a front porch and stairs to create a balanced view. I move that after review and consideration of public testimony, the application, associated materials, the significant building at 1011 Main Street, Cotuit, is a perfectly preserved significant building.
And a second?
I'll second that, Nancy Shoemaker.
Thank you, Nancy. An aye vote will impose an 18-month delay. A nay vote will not impose an 18-month delay. Nancy?
Nay.
Cheryl?
Nay.
Jack?
Nay.
Barbara?
Nay.
John?
Nay.
Robert? Nay. Very good. Moving on to the second motion, please.
All right, so I move that in accordance with section 112-3F, Barnstable Historical Commission determines that the partial demolition of the building located at 1011 Main Street, Cotuit, is not detrimental to the historical, cultural, and architectural heritage or resources of the town.
And a second, please.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Jack. Right. An aye vote determines that the partial demolition of the single-family structure is not detrimental. No demolition delay will be imposed. So, Nancy Shoemaker.
Aye.
Aye.
Jack Kay.
Aye.
Barbara DiBiase.
Aye.
John Richmond.
Aye.
Robert Frazee. Aye. Very good. Mr. Harrington, thank you very much. Enjoy your new porch.
Thank you.
Will it be ready for spring?
Holiday. On to the next step.
There you go. Understood.
Very
Thank you
good.
for coming in.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. Happy holidays.
Thank you. You too.
All righty. I see discussion of upcoming historical events open to the public as the next item on the agenda. Anybody have anything to flag or comment upon? I can't say that I do. Nancy, the Barnstable Historical Society's annual meeting isn't really an open to the public thing quite
Yeah,
that way, is
that's
it?
for members, yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. I
That's
do
mem-
want to say that I want to use the fact that it's having one and some of the announcements that have led up to it to members to point out that all of our historical societies and this commission and others like it are challenged for finding recruits to help sustain the activities of the past on into the future. We are still an alternate, and I'm beating the bushes trying to find someone. Historical societies are having the same problem with their boards and worker bees, and so we as a commission can be, if then we can be anyway supportive or helpful in our moments, we should certainly try to do that.
Can I just add to that, though,
Yes,
that for some of the historical societies that I belong to, we're finding more and more young people, young 40, 30, whatever, very interested. And it's up to us to encourage that and find them. And we have a few new members that are probably going to join the board on the Barnstable Historical, which is great.
Great.
We owe it to
Wonderful news. Wonderful news. And John, I missed a recent open house for the Hyannis Historical Society, but do you have any kind of comparable read on how the group is doing in terms of numbers and age sets and things like that?
Not so much numbers. It went well. I think really the biggest challenge is to let people know we exist.
Yeah.
I was told there were 30 people who attended, though. That's great.
And
Yeah,
they loved the picture show that we put on. So
I bet. Well, I'm glad, and I think as long as each society keeps doing that kind of thing and making itself publicly available and visible, it's going to help. The next thing on our list is a training workshop. Erica, can you help fill us in, or Corey also, because you and I owe you some further correspondence and a reply, but I just wanted to introduce the topic in that way generally and see what we're thinking about for scheduling.
Yeah, sure. Corey had reached out to Sarah Korjeff, who is happy to do a meeting with BHC either in January or February, either before our meetings. So it'd be probably about 2:30, 3 o'clock-ish. She's happy to do Zoom so that we can keep going Zoom for the meetings. And I've spoken with Sarah Beal, our communications manager, and she's been happy to record it for us for future members or just members here. So she's, like I said, Sarah Korjeff is happy to come in and speak. The hopeful date is January or February. Kind of hoping for January at this point, only because I don't have anything scheduled for the commission in January right
Unanimity. I mean, yes, I see that would be the
I'm
smart thing to
fine
do.
with that.
Yeah, very good. Well,
Motion to adjourn?
yeah, I'm fine. Are we okay with that, Erica? Do you think? Can we adjourn off camera, so to speak, if that's where we are?
If she can't get back on, we could be here all night.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I got other things to do too. So.
It just
All right,
popped up. It's being recorded
sorry
now,
to-
so.
Oh, are we?
Okay.
No, it's okay. Don't be sorry.
Just in time. Just
We
in
didn't want to
time.
leave you in the lurch, but we wanted to leave.
I'll
Sure.
reiterate. I'll reiterate the motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Do I have a second for that?
I'll second it, Nancy Shoemaker.
Thank you very much. Well, so Nancy, in favor
Aye.
of adjournment? Cheryl Powell,
Aye.
Pat Kay,
Hi.
Barbara DiBiase,
Aye.
John Richmond,
aye.
Robert Frazee. Aye. Thank you all very much.
All right.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care. Drive safe.
Holidays.
All righty.
Thanks,
Cheers.
everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.